Hello, gamers. Welcome to another episode of the TPP Perspective, a podcast by a gamer documenting about events of esports, gaming, and many other facets of entertainment, and also giving my opinion on them. This is the eighth episode of the podcast, and indeed a special one, as this marks 2 months of our joyful and consistent journey of uploading a podcast every week on Sunday since past 2 months. And I'm very happy how consistent I have been. And yeah, it's joyful, but I think being consistent gives me more pleasure than how joyous ride it has been. Also, I would like to apologize since this episode is delayed as we tweeted about it, informing the world on Twitter due to some recording problems and some personal engagements. I did record an episode which was about to be uploaded, but due to some background noises and some other reasons, I found it unfair to upload some half baked stuff rather than delivering the least uh, delivering the least quality of podcast among the all the great podcasts out there. But still, I don't want to uh, degrade the quality even more because of some uh, issues. And as Lord Game Neville has said, it's better to delay than suck forever. And yeah, so this is um the second take, the re-recording of the eighth episode, and I'm again sorry for the delay. And yeah, it 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 caused a slight inconsistency in this podcast's uploads, but these type of inconsistency I can bear. And uh, if I upload it uh, before Monday evening, I will be I will still count it as an uh, a win in my track of being consistent, because that's some things in life which couldn't be altered. Everything in this world that can influence your path, your decision, your results couldn't be controlled by every person. So it's a truth that we have to live with. And yeah, so the rest of the podcast is going to be rest of the episode is going to be similar to what all the past 7 episodes has been. And before that, we will give shout out to our Twitter handle at TPP Perspective, where we post every Saturday a game review of all those games gradually that I have played all my life and has been a part of the gamer that I have become today. And we will delve further into the review much more than what the the word limited non-premium X account allows you to, but the review here will lack the rating out of 10 that I usually give to all those games, for which you have to go at Twitter at X and search for hashtag TPP game reviews, or follow my account at TPP Perspective and check all those Saturday posts of game reviews. Before that, before we talk about the game of the week, we will delve into the news in esports esports section, and that's the first section that will deal, which will be followed by the game review, which will be further followed by news and events from whole gaming community, and lastly we will close today's episode about with talking about the newest addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And as I feel this week was not as much happening as others, and it might not be a full long episode as it used to be, but I think it's better to talk about things that you genuinely feel or genuinely want to talk about, instead of just keep yapping to get those minutes in. So without further any ado, let's move on to our first move on to the first section of the podcast. That's the esports section. And the first thing that we have to talk about is the uh, recently culminated the finale of the CS2 tournament at Katowice, as all of the Counter Strike players and fans know that there are three tournaments in the Counter Strike esports circuit which are revered and are historic and a dream for many, not if not every player who plays it on a tier 1 uh, esports level pro scene. Those are the Katowice, the Cologne, and the majors. So we had Vitality facing against Team Spirit, the recent major winners at Shanghai Major, and Vitality booked the dub against Team Spirit. As the predictions, many would have predicted that Vitality is going to win, and vice versa. But the way Vitality did was a shock to the community, a cherishful moment for Vitality fans, and a shock for people who supported Team Spirit, because Vitality just whitewashed Team Spirit 3-0 in a BO5, and it was something I also didn't uh, expected to happen at the Katowice Grand Final. The French Bees faced the Russian Dragons on Dust 2 and Nuke, which they easily took from Spirit's clutch. Team Spirit weren't able to pose a challenge even on those two maps, which led them to the third and the map point, or the match map point of the tournament finals. It was decided on Mirage, where Spirit somewhat fought, and uh, somewhat grounded performance by Magix, and somewhat recovered performance of Donk and Zontex brought Team Spirit stand a tie at 11-11, with vitality after a 7 round streak, which made us feel that this is the comeback of team spirit in this game. But unfortunately, it was seven streak, which followed a two streak by Vitality themselves, and they closed the map 13-11. The scoreline, which is considered one of the most painful uh, round tally to end a map at. And and as we talk about the finals, we will we will celebrate the winners, as the whole world is celebrating the winners, the Vitality, which looks great after the addition of Robs into the team. But first of all, we want to talk about Team Spirit, who were considered unbeatable and were thrashing their opponents left, right, and center. Whole uh, Katowice tournament, uh, instead of the one time where they lost to Navi, but that also was a very close map, and s- uh, retrospectively, uh, thinking about it, that match could have been swung both sides. It was a bit of luck and strategies. I will not undermine the team skill and strategy that goes behind these pro tier 1 teams. But when you talk about the number one team in the world, the Natus Vincia, versus the last major winner, Team Spirit, with the world's number one player, Mr. Donk himself, then you cannot judge anybody uh, to be far superior in in uh, gunfight, gun battle, and schematics, but mere luck, because I think these were two giants, especially when the matches and the maps were so close, and uh, it was like dealing punches by two heavyweight boxers, and to coming to the stage on the finals, being the last year's champions at Katowice and just getting whitewashed is somewhat shocked the world. So uh, after the uh, match was over, the team spirit players were disappointed and were seen uh, very distressed, and a sign of disbelief on their face was clearly visible. But in the post-match interview, Donk was asked what did he think where Team Spirit lost their footing in this match, and eventually it snowballed into a 3-0 thrashing by Vitality, to which Donk pointed out that there was some communication issues, and and he also mentioned how they were losing one-to-one gunfights, and he assured that he will work on it. And me myself, after this being one of the worst, if not if not the worst performance by Donk, uh, they will come back. I think Spirit will bounce back and will be again uh, knocking down people and teams out of the server. And as previously also in some tournaments, in few maps, I remember sometimes Donk was unable to perform at the level best that he does, the donking that he provides to everybody, anybody on the server. But in those times, the trio of Zontix, Magix, and Shiro usually would negate the lack of firepower by Dong and would balance the team spirit and let the team spirit get the dub. But this time, Shiro's op was also silent. He was missing. He was missing lots of shots, and Magix and Jontix, uh, they shine in few rounds. Magix was especially good at Mirage, but it was not enough because one player performs around and then he falters another. This is not enough to win against a tier 1 team at a finals of such a reputed tournament. So uh, I think whole team spirit was not uh, on the right footing that day, and I think somewhat it could be blamed to how the crowd at Katowice were treating Team Spirit and Dong, all those booing and hate for them. But two points that eventually come in my mind, which makes me swing my thoughts to the direction that no, it might not have been the case. First, being Chopper's interview, that pre match, he said when he was asked what his team thinks about all those booing and the hatred he gets they get, to which he replied that his team doesn't care about what the crowd thinks and what they shout at them. But it but anybody who is seeing how the team spirit players performed in the finals, it's not unfair to say that all those booing and hatred by the Katowice rammed through the mental barricade of these players. But then the second thing that comes into my mind was this treatment is not new for Team Spirit and Donk, because last year at the Katowice, same Polish crowd was showing same hatred and booing against Team Spirit, and at that time Donk was even younger, and they were not the major winners, and there were many people who were doubting Donk and Team Spirit back in 2024, but they still won it. They still won the trophy in Donk's debut year. So it it's something that we have to keep an eye on, whether it's something which keeps recurring with Team Spirit, or it was just a bad day for the Russian Dragons. We will see. And moving on from the losers of the Katowice Grand Finals to the winners of the Grand Final, Team Vitality, the Yellow Jackets, they were very enthusiastic after winning it. It has been a while that Vitality has won any trophy, and since Apex, the IGL of Vitality, has each and every tournament under his belt except the Katowice. It was a very important one for him. And also when Apex is having a very good stint with his rifle in the Katowice, and with a new team after addition of Robs, and Apex being such a legendary player of Counter Strike. He was emotional, and performance that Vitality was having in Katowice, the it was somewhat cinema for Vitality to win. When you think about all of that, Zywoo being top three player in the world, Robs uh, being one of the most knowledgeable and most consistent players at phase in the beginning of Counter Strike 2, in and Apex being at such a great performance since Shanghai Major culminated. So it was fun to watch them win. Also, there were some disappointments for me, as I wanted it to be a close match, BO5. Unfortunately, it didn't go fourth or fifth map. It hurts more because I wanted to watch Train played on uh, the one of the highest stages against two great teams for a trophy on the Spodek. The Train being the newest addition of in the map pool, it would have been a fun to watch, but unfortunately we were unable to watch it. And yeah, it was uh, it was somewhat underwhelming of finals, I would say. And as many other have also pointed out at it, Mr. Zaibu was awarded MVP for the whole series for the Katowice tournament. And with this, we are moving towards the second news of our esports community, which is a sort of controversy that has happened. That after this MVP award given to Zaibu for the Katowice tournament, an article was published uh, which stated that Zaivu has now matched and stands tied with most number of MVP titles awarded with another uh, goat of Counter Strike uh, esports scene, Mr. Simple himself. And everything was fine until uh, days later, Simple tweeted about how it was unfair to count uh, the number of MVPs for both of them to be same, as he stated that in certain RMR or certain tournaments which were of same standard in both regions, uh, the one in which Simple plays and the second being the one in which Zaibu plays, there were some online matches uh, for which MVPs were awarded, and those were counted on for those online games by HLTV, while similar games, same games in the region in which Simple plays, There were no MVP awarded and thus was not calculated by HLTV. If this what Mr. Simple states is true, then I think it's unfair for Simple to be uh, uh, to be considered not the most MVP most MVP won player, because also on Twitter many people were calling out Simple salty and crybaby for pointing it out. But I think if it's the case, what Simple says it's true, then I think the Ukrainian sniper is not wrong. And it would be unfair for a player like Simple to disrespect him like that. And yeah, these are some things that I have to talk about the esports scene. Also, I would like to point out that due to some busy schedule, I won't be able to watch most of the tournament CS2 tournament at happening at the club Napoca. I might try to join in later to watch finals, semi-finals, and or some playoff matches. But yeah, I would like to point it out, and I'm sorry for uh, not able to cover them. Moving on from our esports section to the review section of the games that I have been playing since I knew of gaming, and every Saturday we tweet about a game and we rate it out of 10. And on here at the podcast, we delve much deeper into the game and my experience with it. But we don't talk about how much I rated it out of 10. For that, you have to go at Twitter and search hashtag TPP game reviews to get a compiled, list of all the games that I have reviewed, or you can go and check my account on X at TPP Perspective to check all the tweets and game reviews that I post every Saturday. So, the game that we reviewed this week was the Motocross Madness. It was an arena based dirt bike racing simulator in a somewhat uh, open world feeling limited arena type uh, game in which you could do a plethora of races and do stunts, gain points, and uh, play. And also, there was a free play, not free to play, free play stunt mode in which you were given a map with cliffs and craters, and you can do stunts, you can drive wild, and yeah, it was a very fun experience. I Some things that I remember are very very fun maps, very uh, fantastic sound design, sound effects. The sound of the dirt bike was very soothing and good to hear. And the most interesting part of the game that still makes a mm, memory still comes to my mind and is a very fondable memory is that the map used to be surrounded by a mountain range which was scalable through certain crevices and certain paths in the advent of the mountain. And eventually, if you were able to climb, you would reach a cliff and it looked like a plateau. And when you try to drive off the map would slingshot you back into the center of the map. And it was very fun and very comic of all those sounds that the player made. And I still consider it one of the most playable and fun game to play that I used to play when I was small. And uh, yeah, it was one of the most fun bike racing game till date that I have played, just falling short behind the Road Rash, which was the game we reviewed and discussed about last Saturday. So yeah, if you have played Motocross Madness, or you have some fond memories about it, or you want to talk about anything related to Motocross Madness, either you can comment down below, or you can go on X at TPP Perspective and leave a comment down below, or tweet at me, and we could share some thoughts on it. So moving on from our gaming review, we are in the section where we talk about some news from the gaming community itself. The first thing that I want to talk about is uh, a chat move. A chat move by a gaming company, a gaming publisher, which has made me smile. That's being Valve. Uh, Going back into the chain of events, a few days back, some gaming companies, some gaming giants like EA, they announced that they are in talks, in thoughts to show adverts, to show advertisements in between the games, whether connected to this uh, headline or not. A few days later, a headline came from Valve in which they somewhat hand twisted due to hand twisted gaming developers by claiming that they will not publish or allow a game to be sold on the world's biggest gaming market site, that's Valve's Steam, if the game supports advertisements inside the game. If you buy a game and then the gaming studio decides to show advertisements, deliberate advertisements, uh, by breaking your gameplay as the network cables and on YouTube and Twitch, the advertisements are showed, then I think it's very evil of such studios. Second comes free games. It could be debated if free games should be allowed to show adverts in them. Being a gamer myself, I feel no. But being a gaming studio, I can understand that free games are uh, mm, easily uh, distributed, and to have a way to monetize that is anybody who runs a gaming company would desire to. But I think in this era of gaming, live services, battle passes, and skins are a much better way to monetize any game rather than adding adverts to it. And those coming from some gaming giants who are multi-billion-dollar companies, uh, I think it's not good uh, for the gaming scene, and and definitely when Valve does something like that, it creates a positive impression for the team behind Valve, and 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 it gives a smile on my face. But also, amongst this whole debacle that has been on the internet, there were some posts on Twitter from some users where they showed and talked about how Valve, one side, prevents gaming developers to put adverts in their game by hand twisting them, that or blackmailing them that if they add adverts then their game would not be published on world's number one gaming publishing site. And on the other hand, Valve's own game Counter Strike allows in-game adverts. I am not pretty sure whether it was true or not. If anybody of who's listening, which I don't think anyone is listening, uh, please write down in comments if it's true. If really in Counter Strike, some gambling sponsors or some gambling companies can advertise, or in some workshop maps or some kind of that shit is allowed, then it could be hypocritical by Valve. But yeah, till then, I think Valve's move is net positive for gamers out there. Moving on from giants of game development to a solo developer who has created a simple single player game which costs just same as a cup of coffee, as it is mentioned by them on the Steam profile page of the game, which has got recently a very positive rating on Steam. This game is called A Game About Digging a Hole. As the name suggests, it's an indie game about digging a hole, and this game has taken the community by the storm because of its simplicity and uh, being uh, so addictive, and being a limited time game, how it's impactable and enjoyable. Many of the people are wondering, what if it was an unlimited digging type of game? Then it would have been a much more enjoyable and addictable experience. But when I was checking about the game at its Steam page, one thing that came to my mind is how giants of game development, those big companies with hundreds of employees and millions of funds, if not billions, always keeps brainstorming or either toil harder and harder by just copy pasting old franchises old successful franchises, slapping live services, and selling expensive skins. And they never come up with these unique ideas. And when I was thinking about it, there was a duel in my mind in which the first opinion I shared with you, the second opinion that came to my mind is, if such big companies don't brainstorm, don't uh, deliver scale, a grandeur, and if they don't make AAA titles, then who will? I think there is a balance that there are indie developers, solo developers who deliver games like a game about digging a hole and manor locks, which intrigue us players and give us something different to play and make a mark on our memory. Also, on the other side, there are these game companies which are running a favorite franchise for years and years with some downfalls and with some successful gaming titles, working on some old formulas but giving us visually impressive, technologically advanced AAA titles. But the another thing also that came into mind is success needs not to be an outcome of a complex product. You, you can easily uh, get successful by simple things, and this story is an example of that. Now, moving on from our gaming section, news about gaming section, we are about to talk about the newest addition in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, with the big screen debut of Anthony Mackie as being the new Captain America in the Captain America and the Brave New World. It's the only movie which, after the Eternals, has talked about the huge celestial body in the Indian Ocean in the Marvel 616 universe. I will be dealing no spoilers, but as the launch was very hyped, the reviews are lacking luster, as they have been since last Spider-Man movie. The Marvel has faced many failures. The people on the internet are mostly talking about how it's not anything new, with similar plot and similar political thriller like situations of Captain America Civil War, and with that delivering a lesser product. And I haven't personally not watched the movie, but after this mixed reviews or somewhat negative reviews that what I have heard, I wonder, when will Marvel be able to come back on its winning ways, when each and every movie was hyped and each of those movies stood tall on their standards and was enjoyed and was successful on the critics table as well as on the box office. The remaining last hope for the Marvel studio, I think, is the Fantastic Four. Uh, mm, there are two reasons. First, the Fantastic Four being a fan favorite storyline among the Marvel fans, and secondly, being rumored to be the kickstart of Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom storyline for the Avengers Secret Wars and Avengers Doomsday. And since all the Jonathan Majors debacle and the Kang movies being dumped, And after some lackluster releases, which couldn't stand up to the level like the Marvels, and uh, s- some failures at the Disney Hotstar platform, like Secret Invasions and the last Doctor Strange and Black Panther movie being somewhat a uh, sore point in this Marvel's legacy. If Fantastic Four couldn't stand up to the challenge that the Marvel's and the studio is facing right now, the future looks very grim for the studio, being honest. So, this is all for the eighth episode of the podcast. If you want to ask any personal question, tweet at me using the hashtag Q&A, and I might answer one or two questions either on the Twitter, or I might take one for the podcast. I don't guarantee that every personal questions will be answered, but I might consider some of them. If you want to ask any non-personal questions, or you want to uh, know any opinions about any stuff related to all those topics that we discuss on this podcast, or you want any topic for me to take for the podcast, use the hashtag TPP perspective on Twitter or comment down below, and we will, if able, then take them for our next episode, or we will answer it then on the Twitter. And that's it for the eighth episode of the podcast. Karn is signing out. Peace.